Like many sprawling cities, Houston was all too eager to practice out with the old and in with the new when it came to development. Buildings were torn down, and it took a while for people to realize our stories, our culture, our history came down too. The historic ElDorado Ballroom in 3rd Ward was saved but sat vacant for years. The next step was to restore it to its original beauty and the heart of its purpose. That work is about to pay off this week. Joining us with the importance of preserving the history and the impact on the future are Executive Director of Project Row Houses, Eureka Gilkey, and jazz and blues singer who was on the entertainment roster at the ElDorado and saw the joint jumping firsthand, Jewel Brown. Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Right. And I'm like, well, all right, okay. You win. I'm in love with Jewel. Well, all right. I am in love with you, and we're going to get to your story and your memories in just a minute. But what first, kind of want to start for people who might not be familiar with the ElDorado Ballroom and how Project Row Houses figures into this. So tell us what Project Row Houses is.
Project Row Houses is an almost 30-year-old arts and culture institution in the heart of Houston's historic 3rd Ward. We're at the center of art, culture, and historic preservation, affordable housing, and a variety of community enrichment activities. And part of what we do is we preserve spaces that were important and historic to our community, and we acquired the ElDorado Ballroom in 1999. And as you said, all of our hard work is going to pay off this Thursday.
Yeah, all right. So it is important for a number of reasons, but sometimes people can pass by an old building and not really understand it was the glue to a community for a minute there.
Most definitely. And it's more than an entertainment venue. It's a cultural center.
Because at the time, it tells how the ElDorado Ballroom came about. There weren't very many venues for African Americans to go to. You weren't allowed to.
As a matter of fact, you're right. In 1939, it was built by two black entrepreneurs, Anna and Clarence Dupree. And at that time, it was during Jim Crow. Black people couldn't see their artists with dignity in the mainstream institutions, so they built a space where they could. And it was the premier ballroom of the South. And it was, everyone put their Sunday go-to-meeting clothes on, and they came and they just had a good time. But it was more than just a music venue. It was a place to celebrate life milestones. So everything from graduations to baby showers, you name it, happened at the ElDorado Ballroom.
Yeah, all right. Jewel, you're a 3rd Ward native, a Trey native, as we say. You grew up singing in the church, and you were inspired by your brother, Ted Brown, the piano player. Your sisters loved the ElDorado as well. But you actually started working right outside the ElDorado at the age of 5, 81 years ago.
I'm telling you, every Mother's Day I was standing out there selling them Mother's Day flowers. The men buds were a nickel, and the ladies' flower was 10 cents.
Oh, well, okay, look at this woman. 81 years ago is when she was that little 5-year-old girl. And you are amazing. As we were talking before the show, we talked about how music feeds your soul. Music has been feeding your soul.
Yes.
By the age of 12, you were opening shows there.
That's right. I opened my first show at the ElDorado at 12 years old.
Wow. All right. I had the opportunity to go into the building before any work had started on it with Joe Sample years ago. And when he walked through those doors, legendary piano player, he stood there, and I knew that he could see the people on the stage. He could see the people at the bar. He could see people sitting at tables. It came back to life for him just like that. Take us back into that room and what that energy was like.
You're speaking in terms of going there here of late?
Oh no, back in the day.
Oh, back in the day? Oh, baby, I was just shocked and all, you know. I mean, to call me into a place like that, because see, I've been used to working the juke joints, you know. So to call me into a place like that, that was, you know, the deal. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And at that time, the Duprees had turned it over to Fred Marshall. I'm friends with his daughter still today, old Frida Marshall. And the thing that boosted my career and my mentality was on the show was a elder lady that was a comedian by the name of Caledonia. And when I got off stage and went back there to the dressing room, which was right next door to the coat and hat and coat check, you know, that's where it was. And as soon as you came up the stairs, that's where the hat and coat check was. So anyway, when I got back there, she said, they told me an amateur was going to open the show first. You ain't no amateur, you are a professional. And that boosted my ego into where I am today.
Yeah, and you got to perform with, some of the other greats, Louis Armstrong.
Oh yeah, Lionel Hampton, Joe Sample, Dizzy Gillespie, Arnett Cobb, just on and on.
Yeah.
Earl Grant.
What did that mean for the pride of the African American community at that time? Because segregation was just the norm of the day.
Well, that was the it place to go. And after it was over, there was all the Hoga Brooks and G&A Cafe and all that stuff. I mean, that area was just the it area, especially from like where the ElDorado was, Cleon to where the Senate Grill and all those. That Dowling was like Broadway, New York.
Yeah, and it didn't take long for word to get out. One thing Joe said, he said that whites would often come and knock on the door and say, hey, get those windows open, because they wanted to hear the music and they'd sit in their cars. And then he said one night, one person just couldn't help himself. He knocked on the door and walked through. And he goes, everybody froze for a minute. And then he said, then we just started dancing and having a good time, which speaks to the importance of entertainment and music. That, we know we had laws that came on the books, but breaking down the walls of segregation happened through so many different ways, the arts being a big one of them, right? And music, so the importance of music. All right, that story comes full circle, because when it comes to saving the ElDorado, one of those gentlemen who loved the music and would listen from outside was very pivotal in saving this building.
Yes, I'm glad you are telling this part of the story, because we did acquire the building and the surrounding properties from a man by the name of Hub Finkelstein, who did just that. He would sit in the parking lot because he wasn't allowed to go in, and he fell in love with the ElDorado and the music that was played out of those windows. And one of the great parts of the restoration is we have brought those original windows back, so we will be able to open the windows again to allow that Houston breeze to come through and the sounds that are happening inside to spew out into the community.
There's some other things that you're still doing to it, but it will be opening this week. You've already gotten a chance to walk inside.
Yes.
What was that feeling like for you, Jewel?
It was amazing, and the most amazing thing was the elevators. Don't have to fight them stairs.
She's really excited about the
elevators. There's some updates that have been made to the building.
Yes.
Yeah, but walking in there and staying there, and you will be on stage this week. That's got to be an amazing feeling.
You were speaking about people sitting on outside. I never will forget, that's where we went, like now, for the summer. I mean, for the next 3 months, I've understood. Every weekend, we would go over there behind the Emancipation Park, and they gave all kind of good shows. And after the shows were over, that's what we used to do. I never thought I'd work there, but we'd sit out on the lawn and they'd push that window out. We could hear all the music out there. We'd sit out there and have all our little...
you get a free concert that
we had
Ticketmaster wasn't involved in.
Baby.
There you go.
Yes. Hey, and that's when community was community, and nobody was afraid to walk home. It was just the epitome of the most wonderful days that I can remember.
Yeah. All right, this hard work has paid off. A soft reopening this Thursday, but basically invitation only.
Yes.
But the general public will have a chance to enjoy coming up around the first week of April.
April 6th.
Yeah.
Will be a community house open to everyone.
Yeah. And we're talking about music, which is such a big draw and was part of its original purpose, but there are other things that can happen there as well.
Most definitely. So Third Ward, unfortunately, is still a food desert, despite us getting our first grocery store in 30 years. So there'll be a market and cafe downstairs serving fresh food, fast casual food, a gallery. We'll still have a community meeting space where the community can gather for meetings. And then, we want to return it as the premier music venue. We're excited that Chris Williams and his team at Lucille's Hospitality Group will be managing the building and operating the building on our behalf. And so we encourage the community to come out and really enjoy the space, and we are just so honored to be the stewards of it.
All right, and Jill, what's on your playlist this Thursday?
Is it still a surprise?
Well, I'm since I'm here, I'm going on and say what I'm gonna do. I intend to kind of reach back at some of that old.
Yes, ma'am.
For like the first show.
Can you give me
and
one
the
line?
Second show.
Can you give me one line? Some
Oh,
song?
see, Sea rider. Baby, see what you done done, Lord, 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 Lord.
Well,
Huh?
well, if you want some more of that, all right, you might have to show up at the ElDorado Ballroom. Ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you on Thursday.
I will be there. All right, and it'd be an honor for me to welcome you to the stage. All right, again, Thursday's reopening is invitation only, but the public grand opening is April 6th. For event information, visit projectrowhouses.org. We would like to give a special thanks to the organizations listed for their help in providing Great Day Houston with photos and videos of this historic venue.